From our Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I am Ahmed Ramadan. Bangladesh National Citizen Party (NCP) convener Nahid Islam accuses the former government of serving India's interests and calls for a policy shift. This and more coming up in today's show. President Donald Trump hosted an Iftar at the White House, breaking the fast on the eve of the conclusion of the holy month of Ramadan. Trump highlighted the support he received from Muslim Americans during the 2024 election. Addressing a packed state dining room, he said the Muslim community was there for him in November. "While I'm president, I'll be there for you," he said. Trump thanked specific Muslim American supporters. He named Imar Ghalib, mayor of Hamtramck, Michigan, as the American ambassador to Kuwait. He also named Bill Bazzi, mayor of Dearborn Heights, Michigan, as the ambassador to Tunisia. Saudi Ambassador Princess Rima and diplomats from more than 20 Muslim-majority countries, including Pakistan, Egypt, the UAE, Malaysia, Morocco, and Bangladesh, attended. Trump emphasized his commitment to peace in the Middle East. Since returning to office, his administration has approved nearly $12 billion in military sales to Israel, including bombs and armored vehicles. He also touted his efforts to cut inflation and energy prices at home. Trump reiterated his conservative stance on education, saying his administration is stopping schools from indoctrinating children with transgender ideologies and keeping men out of women's sports. Millions of Muslims from around the world flocked to the Grand Mosque in Mecca and the Prophet's Mosque in Medina for the 27th night of Ramadan. They performed Taraweeh and Tahajjud prayers. More than 4.2 million people worshipped at the Grand Mosque Wednesday night, setting a new record according to Al-Khabariyya. Bangladesh National Citizen Party, or NCP convener Nahid Islam has called the July uprising the country's second independence for those who endured political oppression over the past 16 years. He strongly criticized the former Awami League government, accused it of prioritizing Indian interests over Bangladesh's sovereignty. He alleged that Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina rigged 3 elections and suppressed opposition voices with Indian support. Islam accused the previous government of eroding national dignity and justice to appease India. Calling for a shift in foreign policy, he urged Bangladesh to pursue ties with India based on equality and mutual respect. Islam also demanded the repatriation of Awami League leaders allegedly sheltering in India after committing violent acts. He expressed hope the July uprising will pave the way for a sovereign and people-focused Bangladesh. The U.S. announced $73 million in emergency aid for Rohingya refugees through the UN World Food Program. The funds aim to support more than 1 million stateless Rohingya in Bangladesh as warnings mount over deepening food shortages and healthcare crisis. The State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce said the aid will provide crucial food and nutrition. She urged other nations to help shoulder the burden. The move comes amid drastic cuts to U.S. foreign aid under President Donald Trump's America First agenda. His administration has already frozen funding, shuttering key aid operations, and starting dismantling USAID, America's main international assistance agency. 2 UN bodies warned the funding gap could force ration cuts, worsen hunger, restrict health care, and spark unrest in the crowded camps of Cox's Bazar. Rohingyas have lived there since fleeing violence in Burma over the last 8 years. Since 2017, the U.S. has been the biggest donor to Rohingya refugees, contributing nearly $2.4 billion. But the recent freeze has forced at least 5 hospitals to cut services. A reprieve came last month when Secretary of State Marco Rubio granted a waiver for life-saving aid. Still, concerns remain as aid cuts continue globally. The Canadian government is targeting American voters with billboards across U.S. highways. Massive digital signs now dot roads in 13 U.S. states with the message, "Tariffs are a tax." This bold move comes as President Donald Trump slaps new tariffs on Canadian-made cars, 25% starting April 3rd. Canadian steel and aluminum already face the same rate. Oil, gas, potash, and lumber may be next. In response, Canada has fired back with $60 billion in counter tariffs. But now it's also waging a public relations war. Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly says Americans need to know these tariffs hit their wallets too. One billboard warns, tariffs are a tax on your grocery bill, signed the Government of Canada. The campaign aims to educate U.S. voters and pressure lawmakers. The signs appear in key Republican-leaning states such as Michigan, Ohio, Florida, and Wisconsin. Officials say rising costs on fuel, food, and daily goods will follow. Trade wars have no winners, Joly warned, urging Americans to speak up before jobs vanish on both sides. A concert by the Israel Philharmonic Orchestra in San Francisco was disrupted by Palestinian supporters on Monday night, aiming to draw attention to Israel's ongoing military actions in Gaza. As the orchestra played Hatvika, Israel's national anthem, two people stood up from the front row shouting, "Free Palestine." They were quickly removed by security. Later, during Kol Nidrai, a woman also shouted at the musicians. She was escorted out as the orchestra continued playing. Another protester listed the names of Palestinian children killed in Israeli airstrikes before being removed by ushers and audience members. Outside the venue, approximately 100 protesters gathered, accusing the orchestra of using cultural performances to artwash Israel's policies and actions in Gaza. The demonstration was organized by groups including Code Pink and Jewish Voice for Peace, which say the Philharmonic's tour attempts to normalize a regime accused of genocide in Gaza and decades of occupation. The Philharmonic is on a U.S. tour, and this was the first concert where the performance itself was interrupted. Trombonist Mika Davis said they were warned of outside protests and feared a repeat of past disruption in London, after which they were no longer invited back to the UK. A 7.7 magnitude earthquake has killed at least 144 in Myanmar. In Thailand, a Bangkok skyscraper collapsed, left 6 dead and over 100 trapped. Rescue efforts are underway. This and more coming up after the break.
Assalamu alaikum, I'm right here. This is the largest refugee camp in the whole world. Rohingya people facing genocide from Burma live here without much hope. And their hope is connected with you. When I went up and down the hills of the refugee camp, they keep asking, can you rescue us from here? Can we go to America? Can we go somewhere else? I cannot raise my children here. Burma Task Force speaks for them. Please donate now. Support us, support those people who are survivors of genocide. Assalamu alaikum. This is the largest refugee camp in the world. 1 million people are sitting here, doing nothing essentially, cannot study, cannot have a living, and world has to give them, feed them bit by bit, little bit of food. I find children, all skinny children around me, and they are wondering what's our future. Since I came from America, they're asking me this question, what's the future for us? Please, join Burma Task Force. It's a coalition of 38 organizations. Support Burma Task Force, join Justice for All. Let's change the future for 1 million people sitting here in the world's largest refugee camp for 7 years. Join now.
Welcome back. The United States Commission on International Religious Freedom has issued its strongest rebuke yet of the Indian government in its 2025 annual report. The Commission again urged Washington to designate India as a country of particular concern for what it calls severe violations of religious freedom. The report also accuses Home Minister Amit Shah of making divisive remarks during the 2024 election campaign, leading to increased attacks on minorities. It cites anti-conversion laws and alleged police inaction in attacks on Christians. Justice for All, a prominent advocacy group, has welcomed the findings. The U.S. CIRF is a bipartisan body that advises the U.S. Congress and government on global religious freedom issues. Islamophobic abuse targeting London Mayor Sadiq Khan has more than doubled in a year. A new analysis commissioned by City Hall shows nearly 28,000 online posts used key Islamophobic slurs against Khan in 2023, up from 12,000 the year before. The vast majority were on X, formerly Twitter, with 89% of such abuse since 2015 coming from the platform. Khan, a leading voice against online hate, criticized X's owner Elon Musk for worsening abuse by reinstating far-right accounts such as that of Tommy Robinson. He is pushing for stronger laws, saying the new Online Safety Act should be a starting point, not the limit. Khan's Muslim identity makes him a frequent target of conspiracy theories, according to watchdog group Hope Not Hate. Previous research found he's received hundreds of thousands of racist messages since becoming mayor in 2016. Even President Donald Trump has repeatedly attacked Khan, once calling him a national disgrace. Businessman Charlie Mullins was also suspended from X for urging violence against Khan and calling him the Muslim mayor. Mullins has since apologized and avoided having his OBE revoked, but has been warned over future behavior. The University of California Davis School of Law has suspended its student government after it passed a resolution supporting a boycott of Israel. The Law Students Association, or LSA, backed a motion to stop funding companies and speakers with ties to Israel. The university said this violated policies that require viewpoint-neutral funding. It also called the move discriminatory. But legal experts and civil rights advocates say political boycotts are a protected form of free expression and warn that applying viewpoint neutrality selectively risks silencing human rights advocacy. The resolution, passed in late February, cited the global boycott, divestments, and sanctions movement. It blacklisted brands such as Starbucks, McDonald's, Nestle, and banned Israeli academics and law firms seen as anti-Palestinian. The University of California, Davis, has frozen the LSA's $40,000 budget and taken over its operations. The university said peaceful protest is allowed, but not policy violations or discrimination. Pro-Israel groups had urged the school to act. Advocacy groups Stand With Us praised the suspension, calling it a win for Jewish students. But other Jewish groups, including Jewish Voice for Peace, have condemned the suspension as a suppression of student activism for Palestinian rights. Critics say equating criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism conflates Jewish identity with state policy, a framing many Jewish students and faculty themselves reject. California law bans public funds from supporting BDS-linked discrimination. While University of California Davis students have passed similar motions before, this is the first time the university has taken such action. Officials haven't said what steps the LSA must take to lift the suspension. Israel has killed at least 43 more Palestinians in an ongoing airstrike on Gaza. It pushes the death toll since October 2023 to over 62,000, according to the Gaza Health Ministry. The ministry also reported 115 more people were injured in the past 24 hours, raising the total number of wounded to more than 114,000. Many victims remain trapped under rubble and in the streets as rescuers struggle to reach them amid Israeli bombardment. Since March 18, Israeli strikes have killed at least 896 Palestinians and injured nearly 2,000 more after Israel broke a ceasefire and prisoner swap deal that held since January. In southern Gaza, 2 people were killed and several injured when an Israeli warplane hit a tent sheltering displaced families in Al-Mawasi, Khan Yunis. Shortly before, a strike on Umran family's home in Al-Fakhri, east of Khan Yunis, killed 2 more and injured others. In northern Gaza, 7 people were killed in an airstrike on a house in the Al-Shaftawi neighborhood. Another person was killed when a home near Al-Quds University was hit. A disabled person was among 2 Palestinians killed by army fire in southern Gaza City. Israeli jets also bombed a Palestinian naval police facility west of Nusayrat camp. The UN estimates 124,000 people have been displaced again since Israel resumed its offensive. While Israel has been bombing southern Lebanon for months, this marked the first time it struck Beirut since a ceasefire with Hezbollah was agreed to in November. The International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant for alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity in Gaza. Israel also faces a genocide case at the International Court of Justice. A powerful 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck Myanmar's Saging region on Friday, triggering devastation across parts of Southeast Asia. At least 144 people have been confirmed dead in Myanmar, with hundreds more injured as rescue teams continue to search for survivors. In neighboring Thailand, the quake caused a skyscraper in Bangkok to collapse. At least 6 people were killed and over 100 others remain missing or trapped under the rubble. Search and rescue efforts are underway at the scene of the collapse, with emergency crews racing against time. The initial quake was followed by a strong aftershock, a 6.4 magnitude tremor just 12 minutes later, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. That's all from our Toronto studios. Eid Mubarak, and thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.